automatically disengage. We get to the next block. I can left Alt and X turns the line green. I need to make sure I'm not pointing directly east-west, so that it's going to bias towards the quadrant that the line is actually on. And having done that, so long as the wheel is straight, it will engage the guidance steering and will be exactly where we need to be. Turn on the sprayer. But yeah, you can edit the key bindings if you want. If you used GPS in Farm Sim 17, the key bindings are completely different. So if you got used to those, some people might remap guidance steering to use the same keys as GPS in 17. Different authors, but same functional equivalent. Now the only other thing is, I keep forgetting where it is. This one here, if I'm doing multiple fields, some of which I predominantly want to spray north-south, and others that I want to spray east-west, I can do the 90-degree turn and go up and down the field rather than across the field. I keep forgetting where that is. It's in the same place on Farm Sim 22 as well. But most of the stuff you're going to do is this. The one thing they don't have, which GPS in 17 did have, was the ability to shuffle the lines over. This is just to do with the offset, this is just to do with the width, but there's nothing to say, oh, I want to shuffle the entire track over by a few feet. And that's usually when I'm setting up at the beginning of the field. You have to make sure you put the tractor exactly where it needs to be. And sometimes it's not easy, and you end up a little bit offset, and then you've got too much outside of the field or too much of the edge missed. Give it a little bit of bias to the direction I want to go, and Alt X, and off we go. Now with this piece of equipment, it follows quite nicely behind the tractor. Things like seeders don't always. Anyway, back on track again. So this is really easy stuff when it comes to spraying. Normally I probably wouldn't bother, because I can see the field. If it was fully grown sunflowers one stage before harvest, I'd use the GPS because I can't see the ground. Oh, so we bought some, we had to buy a ton of fertilizer, so the money's down a bit, but that's fair enough. We're still going to get about 20,000 for completing this contract. How are we doing? Oh, that doesn't show it, does it? Does this show it? No, we're completely divorced from... because you can't see the fertilization levels. So the only way to see how far we've got is on the mini-map, which we can expand, which then doesn't show it. Okay. Good stuff. So maybe the only way to see how far we've got is looking at the contract. We're over halfway, so not too bad. How's the tank doing? We're over half a tank, but there's more than enough to get this one completed. So not too bad. Okay, going off mic for a couple of minutes. Okay, I am back, and yes, this is a big field, so I get to do a whole host of unsupervised driving when you have GPS on, guidance steering on. I am going to reduce cruise speed. Oops, turn that off. So we'll do the turns a little bit faster, but not so that we're driving at 26 miles an hour as we, or accelerate up to 26 miles an hour as we're turning. It's probably not a wise thing to do with the booms stretched at 104 feet. Anyway, so as I said, we're 60%, so it's about 10% per pass, but the field is getting narrower as we get closer to the top. So we're going to be turning more frequently as we go along here. Of course, the other thing is I tend to drive the cardinals, so 180, 360, or 0, 270, 90, but you can use other angles if the field is more inclined to promote that. So I'm pretty sure both sides of the fields are... No, this one's looking pretty square. Let's jump out here. This one's pretty square. This one is now angling quite steeply. So maybe I'll go across and then we'll run the angle instead of the straight. I think, according to Pythagoras, the angle should be longer. Oops, I didn't have to adjust. Driving. I am slightly biased to the left. And small tractor, so it turns on to course quite nimbly. Oops. Something like the class that we have doesn't turn quite so steeply, so it can swing wide when you trying to get on the next track. Now the thing is the lines that we have are plotted on our course. They're not centered on the front of the tractor. When we have GPS off completely, or when we first set it without a course, it will the white line out the front will follow the heading of the tractor. But now we have a course plotted, it's just going to do its thing. Anyway, I'm going to get to the end of this bit, and as I said, we're going to plot a completely different angle to do the next part of the field. And yeah, and when selecting that, it's really dependent on predominantly which is your longest straight side, and you probably want to approach with that as your goal. Okay, that's off. I'll come about. Oops. And now what I'm going to try and do is line up on this angle. I've got a little bit too much overlay on the left, but I don't think I'm going to do much better. The angle is 140. The angle is 140. So pull up guidance steering. We're going to set A with an angle of 140, back, and there you can see that's not a good angle. This side is definitely heading away from our currently plotted line, so I'm guessing we want to be going probably more that way, which is about 130. So we'll try 130, set A, 130, set cardinal, back. That's too much that way, so 135. Let's call it 135 then. Set A, 135. It's going to be close enough. That looks good. Alt X, cruise control on. Tractor's going to settle on the 135. And you can see even 135, that's 135 wasn't quite correct. We are heading deeper into the already done bit on the left. But it's close enough. So I do maths. I done maths in school. English not so much, but maths I did achieve quite nicely. But yeah, your first pass, you're probably always going to miss part of the field if you're not on, if it's not a Giants typical square field on the Cardinals. But like I did there, you make a guess and you go with it. The first pass is going to be horrible, and then all of the rest of them are just going to line up nicely. So I'm definitely wasting some fertilizer there, and that one. Yeah, 82% left. This is very close to, well no, 82% done. This is very close to, it might take the entire tank to do this. Again, I have to bias it slightly in the direction I want to go in. And now we're back in good standing with our left or right edge this way. How are we doing? 83 and 17. We are using up fertilizer faster than we are completing the contract at this point. Not such a surprise, because obviously the edges of the field aren't exactly straight, so we're always wasting some at the edge. The only way around that is to stop it when I think in this case the left hand extremity of the left boom hits the part we've already fertilized. Now obviously on our fields, because precision farming, we've analyzed the soil and all of that stuff, the sprayer adjusts so that where we do hit an overlap, it just turns off those spray nozzles. Not sure how realistic that is. I think it's something that would be more realistic with the variable width sprayers in FarmSim 22. So I would turn that off and not do that bit, because it's going to cost me more stuff than it needs to. And again, we'd move into this part of the field. And maybe about there. But yeah, with the variable boom width that you have in FarmSim 22, you can shut down segments of the boom. And thus, that is definitely a way to achieve not overspraying. And so, yeah, whatever it is I'm saying. Yeah, so to control the nozzles, the guidance steering tied in with precision farming would shut down segments of the boom. It wouldn't be able to address individual nozzles necessarily. For that, you need individual feed to each nozzle. And I think that's something Millennial Farmer has on his fertilizer spreader, is that each nozzle has individual control of fertilizer. That was a little bit early. But if you look at these, yeah, it's a bar with a spray head. And so where does it feed? It feeds from that joint there, and there's a flexible mount there, and possibly, oh, we're too close. Okay, there's another pipe there, but you can see where the pipes are, that is where the spray is controlled. So new pipe equals new control point, and you can shut down that part of the boom. However, you can't address the individual nozzles themselves. But FarmSim, not exactly a realistic. It's a simulator. You know, it approximates farming. It doesn't match precisely. Okay, how are we doing? We're at 95%, but I think we are going to run out of fertilizer before we get this complete. Unless I get really crazy. No, this is not going to work. We are going to be shopping for more fertilizer by the end of this, I think. Okay, I hit that back on again. Yeah, 98. Oh, yeah. The percentage goes up as we're traveling. 98. It's going to get us to 99. Maybe. Okay. It's freeform time. Freestyle time. $98. We've got 1% in the tank. It's more than we can cover. or that we need to cover. So our attempts to do complete coverage with what we had left isn't going to work quite as well as I hoped. Of course, what I can do is something like this. And spray as much as the edge as I can. This is taking longer than I would like. We're down to 20 litres, so it really doesn't make a lot of difference here. Okay, we'll run out the 20 and see where we are. And the 20 is gone. Contract on field 30 is finished. Dang. 28,000. Okay, we get paid. That's a good thing. Now there's another one on 41 that's another 10,000. There's one on 28 that's 16. 28's probably close by here, but we have to go back to the store. Yeah, 28's down there. I think I'm good with what we've done. So we'll go back to the store. Oh, we can shut down. So Alt-C turns off the GPS signal. And we'll finish up, or we'll refill from the remains of the IBC we had at the start. I might buy another IBC so we go back with at least 2,000 in the tank. So I'm probably going to have to spray something else. And if we do end up with a small fertilizer job, like, yeah, our field is, it's a big field, but the job itself is quite small. Oh, and let's turn onto the road and not try and drive behind the fence. Oh, road looks clear. So let's pull out and frighten some people. There we go. Now I can see out the mirrors. Actually, this tractor's not a bad tractor. With the sprayer tank behind it, you can see some of the road following. I should probably play with the field of view settings so that I can actually see the mirrors out of most of my tractors, because obviously the bigger tractors, field of view tends to put the mirrors outside of the screen area. Although I do know it's something that takes a little bit getting used to. Okay, it's oh, we've actually got quite a lot. We got 1,400. I am going to buy another IBC though, because we don't have any. So that's 3,400. That's going to be a good 70–80%. 73%. So that's a good amount of fertilizer we've got. And maybe I should get in the cab so I can actually look where I'm driving. I think there's a couple of there might be some clover silage or grass. Ah, there might be some grass silage bales up at the BGA. from the end of last week, and clover for that matter, because when we were tedding the clover, you have to ted clover twice to turn it into it starts off, you ted it once, it becomes semi-dry clover, but then you have to ted it again to make hay. If you bale up semi-dry clover, it's just a clover bale. So the only thing I had left to do with that was just wrap it. And so all of the clover that we made the mistake of just drying it once, we ended up just wrapping and taking down to the BGA, and somewhere around the middle of early fall, we'll get to sell that for a little bit of money. Love to know how much digesto we've got in the tank now, because good chance I might be looking at using some of that before winter fall drops in. Oh, and this is the last day of late summer. Get off the grass verge. So I believe once we finish this spraying job, we're probably done. As I said, I need to take sugar beets out to the sheep and just stage that, a couple of crates of those up in the fields. Got 2 bales of hay and 3 bales of silage. So they've got enough bales, they just need the sugar beets. So I'll get that done. Oh, we're going in here, aren't we? Hopefully our sprayer has cleared the road. Oh, easily. Oh. That's interesting, because obviously I'm using Maize Plus, and I did get that from the mod hub, and I didn't update it when the last update came through, because there's a risk that it might damage your game save, and then trying to install the previous version of it can be a little bit of a challenge. So I just decided not to go with the latest and greatest and just stick with what we've got loaded, because it works for us now. But you're saying Maize Plus, the Lumberjack mod, or the Used Equipment mod? Used Equipment mod, a little bit of a shame. That duplicates in-game feature from Farm Sim 17 that was removed for 19. 22 is complete redesign on new equipment. I actually like the redesign on new equipment. That's strange. I haven't checked the 19 mod hub lately. Well, sorry, I've been checking the Farm Sim 19 mod hub quite frequently, even since Farm Sim 22 came out. For Farm Sim 19,